first one is to remember that you're going to die. Morrie says to Mitch, the person who's meeting with him every Tuesday, he says, imagine there's just a little bird on your shoulder, and you're just talking to this little bird, and you say, is today going to be the day? Today might be the day that I just go. And just think about how differently you would live your life if you asked that question every day. Just think about how, if you interacted with somebody, if you interact with your spouse or your sister or your brother or your mom or your dad, how different you would act, and I don't necessarily like to think about it every day, because I think maybe that's a little extreme, because if it's every day, you might really live like, you might not prepare for tomorrow at all. But just this concept of getting comfortable with the fact that you're going to die, and that if you're going to die, make sure that you're not just going through life in a fog, in a way of autopilot. Make sure that you are really soaking up life. And for me, that was probably the biggest takeaway, because we're all gonna get there where we eventually die, right? And so it's important to make sure we're living while we're here and making the most of it, and how death gives your life a meaning of sorts, because it's not going to last forever. So this concept really resonated with me, and the actionable step for me was to just spend a lot more time meditating, because when I'm meditating frequently, I notice that I'm a lot more present, and I'm a lot more in awe of life, and it's a lot easier for me to enjoy moment to moment, right? And so that's like a big takeaway for me from this book is get comfortable with death, realize that death is coming, and my action item is to meditate more, and one more action item is to practice gratitude. This is something that I used to do that I'm gonna reignite, is just write a few things down, maybe every day, maybe as often as I can, about things I'm grateful for. Because the more, I remember when I was doing this quite a bit, I would just catch myself randomly being like, oh, this is a great moment, this is a great moment, and I would just appreciate life a lot more. So those are my two action items from the takeaway, that death is going to happen. I think a lot of us, including myself, just somehow we might know that we're gonna die eventually, but we just think that we're gonna live forever somehow. And so it's easy to just be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna live. It's okay if I'm not super, we don't maybe consciously think this, but maybe subconsciously, it's okay if I'm not super kind to the next person I see, but imagine if that was your last interaction, how would you want that to go? So anyway, that's my first takeaway. The second takeaway is giving is living. This one really resonated with me, because I used to be in high school, I felt like I really was into, I really, whether or not I acted on it, I did act on it a bit. I remember starting I was really into charity and just giving back, not even necessarily charity, but I would always think in my head, I want to give back in high school. I would think that. And maybe it's because I had I'm lucky that I came from a home where I didn't have to worry about food or shelter or anything like that. I just wanted to go to school and play tennis, and I was lucky that way. But then somehow in adulthood, my 20s and now into my 30s, I noticed that maybe it's because I started becoming more concerned with survival and whatnot, that I started thinking a lot more about how am I going to make money, how am I going to set up my career, how am I going to do my retirement, how am I going to take care of myself and my family, my eventual family, how am I going to do all this stuff? And I stopped thinking about giving back as much. But now, now that I'm in my early 30s, I'm thinking, okay, I need to make sure that I definitely need to make sure that I'm working on myself and setting myself up financially and all these things, and making sure that I have the means to take care of my wife and eventual family, if that's something we do, and all this stuff. But I really need to also make sure that I'm giving back, and I think that giving back can start right at home. It can definitely start with being kind to your spouse, kind to your family, kind to your friends, all the same things. But I think it could be more. Like even something as simple as like holding the door open for somebody, or calling your friend and just checking on them. Like calling a friend out of the blue and just checking on them, and like really trying to just maybe they don't need you, but just being there just in case. Or going to a like what I should do is like go to a geriatric home and just start and bring my guitar and just play there, doing things like that. And I remember talking to somebody who asked me if I want to do that, and I said yes, and then I didn't hear from him, but I also never followed up, and so that was really interesting. But doing stuff like that, and I remember I used to like volunteer at the Humane Society for a while, but I don't really do that anymore. I read Peter Singer's book a lot, a couple times, The Life You Can Save, and I was donating money there, and that's good. But I should do that. I should make sure that I'm doing that, And so, giving is living, and then realize that it's important. It's important to work on yourself, but it's important to give. And then the third one is be as human as possible. I think a lot of times I try to be a machine, you know what I mean? I try to be all right, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna meditate, I'm gonna do work for a few hours, then I'm gonna eat and take a nap, and then I'll do something fun. And it's almost it's very machine-like. But be as human as possible, do some stuff, go for a walk in the rain, go just laugh until you cry, whatever it is, be human. Be okay with being vulnerable, it's just we're human, and it's cool, and it's okay. And I think it's good to also, of course, we want to be disciplined, and I definitely have that in me. I want to be disciplined, I want to grow, and I want to improve, and I want to actualize and get mastery over domains of various skills, and all this stuff is really good. But be human, and again, I think the action item for this is meditating. And so those are my 3 takeaways. To recap, first one is that you're gonna die, so make sure that you're living. The second one is that giving is living. Make sure that giving back is part of my life. And the last one is to be as human as possible. Take those moments to just really be present, as many moments as I can to be really present. And this is all reminding me, I think the biggest these are the 3 the individual takeaways, but I think the action items are meditating and gratitude. I think we'll automatically do these, and then looking for opportunities to just give back, little and small. So that's all I got. If you enjoyed this video, definitely check out the book. I thought it was really good. It was one of my favorite books this year. I've read this year, and I'd love to hear from you if you've read this book. I had so many takeaways, but these are the 3 that are top of mind. So I thought I'd share, and I'll talk to you on the next one. All right, take care.
Something I'm doing too much. Over-caffeinated with my shoulders gin night, and lately stoicism